Let's bring in Francesco Rizzuto, Professor of Law at the University of East London. He joins me live on the line from Liverpool. Welcome to you, Francesco. So President Trump says Ukraine can't win this war. Just 4 weeks ago, he said Ukraine could win back all of the territory it lost. He's flip-flopping all over the place. Do you think he's back in Russia's camp now on this and supporting Russia?
Good morning. He's never been out of the Russian camp. I think he's, or the Putin camp, let me put it that way. I think he's been consistently in, if you like, in support of the Russian position, which is a position of strength. They occupy 20% of the territory. He wants a deal, and he wants to be able to claim he's made peace there. He's never really shifted on that. He's played games with the Europeans because he knows the Europeans are very weak in any event.
In order to get the peace that he wants, do you think he's going to pressure Volodymyr Zelensky into taking a bad deal?
I think that if the Financial Times reports are accurate, by the way, it's interesting who actually leaked those reports. Probably somebody in support of Ukraine, so that we could get the backs of the Europeans up a little bit to support Zelensky. But I think that there's no doubt that Trump probably is peeved at the fact that he didn't win the Nobel Prize for Peace, and he's determined to strike a deal. And the deal will be that basically the Ukrainians will have to bow because he's not going to supply them with weapons. The Europeans are limited in terms of the resources that they can give to the Ukrainians, even allowing for the fact that they might use as a loan Russian funds that are held in Brussels at the moment. So if Trump has decided that the game is over, the game is over.
You say it's over without Trump's support. Where's the European support at the moment? Is that in the pipeline? Is it coming? And is it going to be enough to help Ukraine keep on fighting?
Well, I think we can provide them with some financial support, and we can buy some weapons from the Americans to give to the Ukrainians. Of course, if the Ukrainians sell them to us, to then hand them to the Ukrainians. But if the Americans are peeved at the fact that the Ukrainians won't succumb to Putin's wishes, then that's going to be difficult. Look, the Europeans are very weak in all of this. Basically, we've become a Europe of indecision and division. We don't have the means to really support the Ukrainians, and we're not actually clear what supporting the Ukrainians mean. In my view, it's always meant stopping the Russians taking over the whole of the Ukraine. There's some idiots were saying that they could win back the territory that they've lost. Frankly, that was never on the cards. But Europe is a bystander, and lots of words, lots of blah, blah, blah. But the reality is Europe is not only divided, but it lacks the means to back up any realistic support for the Ukrainians. And actually, we don't know what that means. Does that mean sending soldiers and fighting the Russians for the Ukrainians? It's clear that that's not going to happen. Even in this meeting on Friday that's going to take place over the coalition of the willing, how many European countries, including our own, have said that they're going to put thousands of troops in the Ukraine? None have actually committed to that. So it's sea cover, air cover. So Europe is frankly a fairly impotent bystander. At best, we can supply money and we can buy weapons and we can try and play about with Russian funds, though there's no agreement really on that. So Europe is really demonstrating that it simply lacks, at the present time, the means to assert a European view of the future, despite all the words.
What do you think is going to happen at this upcoming meeting between Trump and Putin? Do you think they might put together a framework for what effectively would be Ukrainian surrender?
Well, I don't want to put it in terms of Ukrainian surrender. Even Trump is not idiotic enough to use that kind of language.
Obviously, they'll pitch it as a joint agreement for peace, but effectively,
a joint agreement. a peace treaty with a ceasefire and basically de facto, not de jure, the Ukrainians won't de jure give up the 20% of territory, i.e. the Donbass region, but de facto the Russians will keep hold of it, and that's how we get around the legal recognition problems. And a few decades will pass and everybody will forget, though of course the Ukraine, like Poland, will become a deadly enemy of Russia, which is very sad and should have been avoided.
Francesco, good to speak to you. Francesco Rizzuto from the University of East London, my guest.